joining us all the way from France here in his Chateau La Briance. We've all heard about it. We're going to hear a little bit more now. We got the promoter of Poole Speedway, Matt Ford, with us. Matt, thanks for joining us. How's things over in France for you at the moment?
Hi, Andy. How are you? Yeah, it's going well. It's tough work, mate. We're flat out. We've been working hard. We've came out. I first came out at the end of April. Helen came out at the beginning of May, and we've done an awful lot. The place is coming on brilliantly now. Hopefully, if it wasn't for the virus, we'd be pretty much set to open. So we've got our first major booking in at the end of May. Terry Russell is coming over from Swindon, and Terry's pals, who are pals of mine too, and they're coming over, 8 couples. So I'm hoping that this virus and everything will be gone by that time, and we can welcome Terry and have a good few glasses of wine.
And you say about going over there and buying this chateau there, but a lot of work to do on it. We've seen on the Facebook, we've been following it, we've seen the pictures. Are you actually getting down dirty? Are you actually getting involved in getting things done over there yourself?
I've had little alternative, really. It'd be lovely to sit back and rely on others to do these works, but we've been really lucky with having some great people come and help us. A guy called Phil Austin from lives in Poole, who came out for 4 months. We've also been lucky to have a couple of our sponsors, Ian Bell from Bell's Decor, who came out for a good amount of time. He's been back and forward, actually. And Darren Baker from Maidment Properties, both sponsors of the club. And the two of them are outstanding. They've done such a good job. I can't thank them enough. They've both been wonderful. And but the truth is it's a long project. It's not something that was going to be done quickly. The walls are 1 meter thick here, so there's a lot of work to go between different things. And I've had to do an awful lot of things myself that I never dreamt that I could possibly do before. But you learn, and we're getting things done now. I didn't know how to point. I've been pointing this week and doing different stuff, hanging wallpaper last week for a wallpaper that was 4.5 meters in height, and it came as one piece, 2.5 meters, beg your pardon, 4.5 meters high, 2.5 meters wide. It came as one piece. So doing things I'd never thought I would be doing, but it's great. The place is wonderful. It dates back to 1740. It's got a great history, associated with Napoleon III, who was the last emperor of France. And so it's lovely. I long for people to come and see it.
So as you enter the Chateau gates, obviously the Chateau in front, spring's here, so finally got some colour coming out now. The orangery on the left as we look, the Chateau itself directly ahead. These are cannons that we put up. We built, a friend of ours made them actually, and we erected them a little while ago. Quite impressive, looking good. Different perspective of the Chateau from this angle, the orangery behind me. We're going to use that for wedding functions and any big events basically. The Chateau itself, around about 10 bedrooms. We've got a couple more, but we wouldn't actually rent those out. All en suite, all looking beautiful. So today is a pool cleaning day, or really getting all of the perimeter done. You can see I've started jet washing it all off, getting rid of the grime that we've had over the winter. This is next week's task, if I can get some chemicals, which is put a concrete base down, going to build a fountain. Lots to do, and lots of time to do it in.
Well, whilst you've been over there in France, we've been speaking to one or two of the riders and getting their thoughts on the upcoming season, delayed season, if you like. And now we're going to ask you a couple of questions from the fans. Stephen Allen does great work for the club, of course, on the website. He's going to be our first question for you. Is there intense panic buying in France? We see it over here in the UK at the moment, but is it happening over there in the shops?
Hey, Steve, how are you? No, is the answer. It's a different culture in France. They don't really do that type of thing. There's been no issue in terms. I've only actually went out the day we were going on lockdown, which was about 10 days, 12 days ago now. That was the last time I went out. Helen's been out once since to get a little bit of shopping. I don't know. I don't know what it is. They're just, hate to say they're a little bit more respectful about that type of thing, but the truth is they probably are. No, there's no worrying about toilet paper and pasta and the things that people have been bulk buying at home. I hope that that's all resolved now. That you can only have so many, and the supermarkets have filled their shelves back and everyone's got their need. It's a horrible time for everybody, but the truth is that they go about it in a different way here, and it's quite laid back. So nothing like that, Steve.
Pretty thoughtful stuff at the moment. We're all living through it, no matter where we are in the world, aren't we? Let's move on to Speedway questions then. B. Wellman, he says, can Speedway survive the outbreak in its present form, or will we see a much changed product when it's all over? If the situation continues, can the sport survive potentially missing a complete season?
Hi Barry, I hope you're well. Crikey, I don't even want to think about us missing a whole year. I don't think that that's going to be needed. If we had to, I guess, what can you do? We would have to, come back and fight another day. But the truth is that I'm a little disappointed even in the fact that it's been extended back as far as June, because if you look at what's happening worldwide in Wuhan, in the province there, that they're beginning to go back to work. It's only, if you take the date line and the fact that it was the 30th of December before they first announced the problem. It was the 23rd of January before they went into lockdown. And fast forward 2 months, pretty much to the week. We obviously have only just gone into lockdown this week. But if that's the case and where we were and what we should learn about this virus in the next 2 months, I'm hoping that we can learn from the Chinese and etc. And put it into practice in the UK quicker. So I was really hoping that we'd be open sometime in May. Of course, it's the 12-week thing that the government have put on the elderly and the most vulnerable, which is the reason that they've come up with a date of the 15th of June. But we've still got so much more to learn about this virus, and in the next 2 months, who knows what can happen. I'm not talking about us finding the cure to it. That's going to take a year, I believe, if you listen to the experts. But perhaps we will know how to handle it better in the next couple of months. Perhaps it'll go the other way. Perhaps we do exactly as Barry hopes we won't, because I know Barry loves the Speedway. But let's wait and see. I'm still hopeful that we can get back. If it is June, it's June. But I'm still hopeful that we can get back in sometime in May.
Moving on to Instagram, Stickly Sam. That's a bit of a name. He says, is this one season in the Championship, or will we be moving back to the Premiership within, say, 3 years?
Hi, Stickly Sam. Great name. I think that the biggest problem for me, and we put it out to the public to ask their opinion, and the response was outstanding. How many people came forward? Almost as many as so there was people that weren't only coming to Speedway, but people that didn't come to Speedway also came forward and told us their thoughts. But of the Speedway paying public, 76% of people wanted us to drop. Now that's many of the reasons for that were the fact that changing from the Wednesday to the Thursday, and that really caused a huge issue. Before the season started, our season tickets were down. Our actual gates were down by 22% last year. And this was coming back on us winning the Championship, winning the Premiership, I should say, but winning the league title. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense that a business that, as a club being as successful as we were, would drop by 22% in terms of people. We brought back the majority of the team. I think there were 4 or 5, weren't there, that came back. But it doesn't make sense. And the fact of the matter is that for some unknown reason, Wednesday works for Poole, just as Thursday does for Sheffield. Sheffield moved race day, went to a Sunday, and had exactly the same problem. No one came, or not no one, but the crowds were down significantly. They're going back to a Thursday now, and of course they've signed Nicki, but their season tickets are up, and Damien's speaking really, with great regard for the season ahead. So I think that as long as British Speedway run the top league on a Monday and a Thursday, we can't play a part. People do not come, and the truth is that we're not ran by a Russian billionaire. Like our neighbours along, AFC Bournemouth, and that has bankrolled things for many years until now. Nor do we have £130 million coming in on a TV contract. In the last few years, we've had next to nothing, and I mean next to nothing coming in. So it's, my hope is that I'm not saying never, absolutely not, but I think for the next couple of years, let's enjoy this. People seem to really want to see different opposition, different riders, and I'm looking forward to it too.
Okay, Finlay Coles from Facebook, he asked, how do you feel the Pirates are going to get on? How do you feel they're going to perform when racing commences?
Hi, Finlay. I think we've got a good team. I'm really impressed with the top three. I don't really see anybody else in the league that have got a better top three than us. Great. Danny King, what a captain. I was talking last night to Dan, my son, and Captain Kirk kind of came up from Star Trek, and Captain King, I kind of want to play along that a little bit. Perhaps we can do some merchandise with showing the Star Trek thing and Captain King, Steve Worrell, I think, is a great rider. I rate Steve. I rate him in any league. I always found him tough to beat when we were in the Premiership. So, I'm so pleased. He's also just the nicest of people. He's a great guy, and I know that it's tough when you're not being paid, and he wasn't getting paid last year. Different promotion now. Tough going last year for the last couple of years for Newcastle. But Steve, it's not easy going to work and not getting paid. So, we'll get a different rider in Steve Worrell this year. And Adam Ellis was the icing on the cake. That came kind of from nowhere. But when he became available, and that was just brilliant news to me, because I was such a big fan of Adam anyway, and tried to buy him on more than one occasion from John Cook. And we were really close a couple of years ago. But, that was fantastic. Add to that, Stefan Nilsson just ups his game when he rides for Poole. He's one of those riders like Dave Watt. People used to moan about Dave when he rode for other clubs because he never quite upped his game in the same way that he did for Poole. And I see Stefan in that ilk. Josh McDonald was recommended to me by Damien Bates. I spoke to him about, we were looking at that type of average rider. And he came with a glowing reference, so I'm really pleased, and Josh will do a good job, and is desperate to be here. And then the other two lads, with Zane and Ben, they came in. We basically had about 8.5, 8.5, 8.9, but I can't remember exactly the figure now. A month later, 2 months later, but I felt that it was a really odd situation. We normally ride Speedway with 7 riders pretty much owned by Poole, and this time round the first 5 riders in the team, we own none of them, and that hurt. So of course we had so few riders riding in that level. Carl Newman had already signed for Eastbourne, really at the end of last year, so before I even went to the AGM. Charles Wright, British champion, great rider, but Charles had wanted to go back to Redcar. It's just down the road from where he lives in Manchester. I didn't want to upset the apple cart, so I let any of those riders go back to the clubs that they wanted to be up for 2020. Maybe 2021 will be different, who knows? But I feel that the 2 guys have coming in. Zane was very vocal about needing and wanting a place in British Speedway, really feels that he's ready for it. And Ben is a much quieter character, but very competent and a good lad. And I've the two of them come really highly recommended by my friends in Australia, Rod Calhoun in particular. But I've spoken to Crumpy about Zane, and spoken to Brady about Ben. So I'm really excited. You know, the guys know that they're under pressure. They're in a sport where they've got to score. But I'm really pleased, and so's Dan and so's Midlow. We're really keen with with how the teams have been put together.
Michael Orton on Facebook, he says, with the likes of Nicki, Pedersen, Jason Crump returning to the top flight at British Speedway, do you see this as a turning point for more higher profile riders to come back to racing in Britain?
Wouldn't that be great? I think let's just give 2020, let's see how it is after. If those guys want to return, if they want to return the year after, in 2021, I think that will show me that we perhaps are getting to turn the corner. There's also other things to be taken into account in that, and that's the fact that obviously Poland have become the dominant nation in Speedway in terms of both on the track and off it, in terms of what they pay people and how much more they pay people for to ride. By the way, now they're pulling out in Sweden too, with Freddie Lindgren having pulled out. You already see Leon Madsen doesn't and has no interest in riding in Sweden. Ty is just pulled out. It's Sweden too. And these guys, are now paid very, very substantial money in Poland, and they can't afford to take the risk, as we saw with Martin Vazulik a couple of years ago at Leicester, got injured, and that put financially, I know that was a hell of a strain on Martin. And so, the chances are that these guys are put under a lot of pressure by their Polish clubs, and for them to take other leagues for far, far less money is just not an option at this point in time. But there's different things happening in the world. Brexit, no one even talks about Brexit with this virus around, but that's going to have an impact on the Poles in the future. And I won't say any more than that, but just my opinion is that will have an impact. Things evolve in Speedway. You get the strongest and the weakest, and at the moment we would be classed as one of the weakest, I'll be honest. But they evolve, and this virus may change things. You may see that may make things a little different for certain people. Certain riders may not be getting a lot of meetings now. So it could be that by the time we come to start, that there's a lot more riders available. There's so many things, the questions unanswered, and certainly moving forward for 2021 also. But long way round again. But let's just see. If those guys come back in 2021, it could be that there's more come with them.
Well, that kind of answers the next question by Ross Bennett, which was looking further ahead. What do you envision for the future British Speedway? I guess none of us really know the future for anything at the moment. All the uncertainty around the world in the different leagues as well. Who knows? Yeah.
Hi, Ross. Tough because, we've kind of feel now we were spoilt with having the Sky contract for however many years it was, 18, I think. At the time you didn't realise that what we were getting was a good amount of money, and of course then you lose that money, and it has a huge impact on business. And those last couple of years in particular have been a real problem for us at Poole. And then of course last year with the change of race day as well. And it was crippling, don't get me wrong, I've never, ever owed anybody a penny in Speedway. I owe no one. I can't pay myself, but I don't owe anybody else a penny. And no one will come forward saying I do. So the riders get paid quicker by Poole than they get paid by any other club. And again, they tell you that. And the truth is that whilst this is a bit different for us now, let's see how we enjoy it, how the fans enjoy getting more regular racing, different clubs, different riders, and hopefully that will, and that fun element as well. Perhaps we've been lacking that a little bit. Certainly the where Chris and Darcy have that Darcy's injury Chris not being in the UK, Magic leaving the club, I feel that we've kind of lost that a little bit at the moment. And if people's memory, for the older ones of us that go back to when we had all the Aussies at Poole at the end of the 80s, beginning of the 90s, Craig Boyce, Steve and Tony Langdon, Gary Allen, Rod Calhoun, and Roscoe was our captain at the time. And I tell you what, it was packed. The place was packed. I've not had crowds at Poole really like that. Even with under Chris and Darcy, our crowds still weren't back to how many Pete and Merv were going back at the end of the 80s. So we did improve after that, because of they lost those crowds, and oddly enough, they lost those crowds by going in the top league. How odd's that? But they did. That's what happened. And of course, when Mike and I took over, the crowds were pretty much an all-time low. When we took over at the end of the 90s. So, I think that the sport's a great sport. It's still just the best sport in the world to me. I love what it does. I love everything about it. I think it's wonderful. But let's just see what happens in the next year or two. We've got a real crisis on all of our hands at this moment in time, haven't we? And let's see. But we've been through the lows. We've been there for a couple of years now. Perhaps it's our turn to have a high.
Moving on then to Twitter, Jerry Bishop. This is a great question, by the way. Which rider did you get close to signing and miss out on that you are most disappointed by? I guess he's asking right the way through your career as a promoter and owner of the club.
Wow, Jerry, God, that is a good question. I suppose one that sticks in my mind, and he won't be popular with the fans, but these guys become heroes when they don the skull and crossbones, and is Nicki Pedersen. I think that Nicki in 2002. It's Neil tells you, he'll always tell you, he'll work with the team that I give him, and I've always picked the teams. And I don't think we've done too badly, have we? We've won quite a few trophies, 28 to be precise, in our time together, Neil and myself. But I think that we kind of had not a disagreement on this, but he felt that one other rider was worth keeping, and I felt that perhaps the time was right to make a change, and that would have been bringing Nicki in at the time in 2002. And I genuinely feel if we'd brought him in at that time, and it wasn't for Rickardsson, because it would have been as well as Rickardsson, I think that we would have won the league that year. So I think Nicki, we missed out on the chance of working with him, and I think that would have been fantastic for people involved to come and see that guy. What a talent! He's as much as I know people don't all like him. They don't all like me. It's one of those things. You just have to accept these things in life. But my goodness me, no one can take away the fact that the guy's box office, and it would have been lovely to have worked with him for a year or two.
Someone you recognise now, Frederick Jakobsen from Instagram. Do you want to know what he says? He says, has anyone ever played as much PlayStation in your house as Kacper Woryna? And he says he hopes you're doing well.
Freddie, miss you, mate. Hope you're doing well. Real improvement last year, by the way, massively. Obviously, I put that down to the fact he joined Poole the year before. A little bit sad because I didn't offer Freddie a contract at the start of the year. And then, of course, when Richie got injured, first of all, he'd lost his form, and Richie did say to me, like, I'm going to have to take myself out of the team. But I kind of tried to make him persevere and go through that. And he then found his form and sadly got injured. And I think that if we'd had Richie or we'd had Freddie, I think that we could have moved on last year and still won that championship, if I'm honest. I keep calling it a championship. You understand, everyone, what I mean. We could have won that title. So, but no, Fred, in answer to your question, no, Kacper Woryna. Kacper, that's a crying shame. I really want to work with him again. What an absolute gentleman, perfect rider, and just one of the nicest people you could ever meet in your life. And I do hope to God that we all get to see Kacper come back to Poole again. Of course, this league is not right for him. We're also not allowed to sign Poles, incidentally. So, but I do hope we get him back, and Freddie too. So, answer the question: no, he is the PlayStation and king, isn't he? You know, and what's that game that he used to play all the time? Fortnite, I think. Fortnite, is that on PlayStation? I don't know. I'm sure it is, but yeah, he is the king for that.
Just before we wrap things up, we have some fantastic questions there from the fans. One question I'd like to put to you about your son Danny. Now, last year, of course, he came on board as a co-promoter. Now you're over in France. He's very, very much active within the club at the moment. I know that we have a lot of dealings with him as well, and he's really got a lot of get up and go. He's got that enthusiasm, and he's really doing you proud, isn't he?
That's lovely to hear, Andy. Thank you very much. I am proud of him. I am very proud of Dan. I am my other son, Sam, as well, who's going to also be playing a smaller role with the club this year, but getting involved a little bit as well. But Dan's really been good. He's, you know, we've been pretty unlucky in terms of sponsors. Of course, this is going to be a huge knock, and I've already had one more since, sadly. Seaview coaches that have been with me since day dot, and before I owned the club, that they, you know, with what's going on, they're going to have to pull out of sponsoring the club this year. We're going to hear that fairly regularly, I think. It's been tough. Last couple of years, we've lost a couple of our biggest sponsors for different reasons, whether it be Brexit, and these things happen before this coronavirus. So, you know, but people that have been with us for so long, County Crest, Pallets, Andy and Karen, you know, miss those guys coming down. Such a shame. But these things happen. Medicare this year, Ernie and Derek, you know, have got other things going on. It happens, you know. Sunrise last year, we also lost as well. But Dan's been working hard to try to replace one or more of these people, and I'm really proud of him, and in respect that he's brought in Morris Holmes. Now what an immense company, what a tremendous company for us to be involved with. Huge company, and I'm so proud that they have come on board with the Pirates. I mean, that's, to me, I've been trying for donkey's years to get them to come on board, and we never had any luck. And Dan comes along and has worked with Tim Bishop and at Morris Holmes and have struck a deal. And so, you know, they'll be going on the back of our race suits, and that's down to Dan. And well done, you know, Danny Ford. You've done a great job there. I hope I do tell you enough, but you've done a great job, and yeah, keep it going. We need more. We're going to lose a lot of people. This whole thing is going to cause an immense problem, not just with Poole, with every single club in British Speedway, and to every person out there, every person, whether you're employed, you're self-employed, you know, if you're a business owner like ourselves, that it's going to be immense. It's going to be really tough to bounce back from this. A lot of people I'm hearing some real horror stories of people having to lay people off or you know, doing things like that. You know, it's heartbreaking to hear, and I just hope that this is resolved sooner rather than later. But hey, Dan Ford, well done. And let's hope that we can. And it's probably my time to give a shout out to the sponsors, because I always do, and I hope you understand why the club has been successful, in my opinion, because of these people. We're really lucky to have all of you, and you know, in particular, Wessex Marine, David Adams, David and Guy at Wessex Marine, Keith and Chris Brixey at Link Fabrication, that have both been involved again since day one, since I came in. Thank you guys. Thank you to all of you for your help.
Thanks ever so much for your time over there in France. Continue to enjoy yourself over there at the Chateau. Hopefully, once we've all got through this, the Speedway bikes will start roaring at Wimble Road again, and also people will be able to come out to France and see the Chateau for themselves.
Oh, crikey, that'd be wonderful. I mean, I hope it's, you know, obviously it'd be predominantly pirate fans that'll be watching this, but I'm sure it make its way out elsewhere as well. Hey, you know, all rivalries aside, you know, and the fact that I've always been appreciated that I've not been over popular in the Speedway world, but we're all in this together, aren't we? And you know, I do hope that people come and visit us. You know, we're here. It's going to be a place that, you know, it's nice. It's a nice size. It's not going to be that big. We've got around about 10 bedrooms, all en suite. This room is called the Richard the Lionheart Suite, where you know, I hope that everyone does come, and certainly it'd be great to spend time and have a few cocktails and glasses of wine with Speedway folk and talk about their favourite and my favourite, and you know, what I've done wrong and what they've, you know, think I've done wrong, and I probably haven't, but you know, it'd be great to have everybody come back. We had the Pirates come out last week or the week before. The team with Midlow and Javi and Dan, Tilly, all came along, and that was fantastic. The great team bonding. We were going in with such confidence that we felt that we could take on anybody. But you know, we've had to delay that for a little while. But please, guys, come and see us. You know, sadly with Flybe's demise, you can't fly from Southampton, but there's some really cheap flights from Bristol to Limoges, which is where you come, and I'm 20 minutes away from Limoges. So, you know, I may be able to pick you up if I've got time. I'm sure I will. But if not, grab a car or a taxi and you know, come and see us. It's Chateau Labriance is the name. I'll give it a tiny plug. But yeah, follow us on Facebook and get out and see us, please. I'd love to see anybody from this great sport.
Thanks, Matt. You stay safe, yeah?
Andy, thank you to you. You do an outstanding job, by the way. Absolutely brilliant. I mean, I think your improvement and what you're doing with the sport is fantastic. So well done to you. And everybody, take it easy. Take care. Listen to the advice. I know that many people kind of don't want to underplay this thing. Please don't. Just I'm not being condescending. Just take the advice. Let's get this over and done with. Do what we're told so we can get back racing our bikes. Wouldn't that be lovely? And we can open this wonderful place out here, and hopefully see you guys come and see us.